Let's take a look at the new Hikmicro Alpex, offering a 4K sensor with day and night vision, producing a spectacular viewing experience. It also has a whopping 1000 meter rangefinder, making it the perfect all-rounder. In this review, we take a deep dive into the image quality during the night with different IR torches and during the day as well. We take a look at the device itself and how to use it, the menu systems, how to zero it, and using the new BC system. We have a lot to cover, so let's get into it. Let's take a look at the image quality on the Alpex. We will compare night footage with different IR torches, as well as compare 850nm versus 940nm, and look at some daytime footage as well. After that, we take a look at some in the Paddock footage, giving you the most complete overview of the image quality on the new Alpex. For our distance testing, we will take a look at our dogs here at 50 meters, 100, 150, and 200 meters. Let's kick off with the Z Vision 303 torch here and compare the quality at the different distances. Keep in mind that the image quality looking through the device to me appears clearer than the recordings, but it still gives you a very good indication of what to expect. As you can see on the Z Vision light here, we're on 850nm and the image quality is very good, even out to 200 meters. Now taking a look with the Hikmicro IR, the original one, still a very usable image even out to the further distances. If you can't afford the Z Vision system, the standard Hikmicro IR is still very good. If you're trying to decide what device is best for you and you can't figure it out, give us a ring. I can help you decide what's right for you and what you want to achieve. We can discuss realistic options around your budget and make sure you're going to get a product that's going to meet your expectations and not leave you disappointed. Alright, let's take a look at some daytime comparisons here at different distances ranging from 100 meters out to 200 meters. Now it is late in the day, it is late afternoon here, so you would probably get better image quality earlier in the day when there is more sunlight. Where we see the 4K image really excel is at the further distances when you're using the digital zoom. You go right into 28 times and you're still getting a usable image. Now you could play with some of the settings on the device and adjust the contrast and brightness to your liking, and you might get an even better image. Alright, so now we're going to take a look at some footage captured on the Alpex out in the field. So we have a nice little piggy here on a windy day, and he also has a mate there coming in. They're having a bit of feed. Now we're going to night time. We've got the Hikmicro IR light here with a couple of foxes having a feed on some dead cows. Now we have some piggies here, big mob, late afternoon, and they're cruising on through there. Image looking quite good. Back on some foxes here. They love the dead stuff, that is for certain. 20 meters. He looks like he's having a merry time. Another fox having a feed again. Nice looking munching going on there. Now we have some longer visuals on some pigs out at over 160 meters. Now with a better IR light, this would be a lot clearer. This is with the Hikmicro one, and it's on the wide angle. Another fox having a nappy poo here. Back during the day, some more daytime footage. We got some piggies here walking across towards a tank. Absolutely nice, amazing clear footage here. Back on the night time, we've got some pigs coming down a pad here, coming in to a trough. Now one thing you probably all noticed is there is quite a few pigs around in areas at the moment. With the last couple of good seasons we've had, there's a lot of numbers getting around in certain areas, particularly where there is stubble or good feed source. They're absolutely hanging out for a drink here. This is why the farmers don't like them. They get in and they make a mess of the joint. Not a bad sow there. The whole family's coming in for a nice drink. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, I guess, eh? We've got some pigs out at 90 meters, just chilling out, having a dig around and a feed. The daytime footage is quite exceptional on this thing. It really does excel. Here we have an example of picture-in-picture mode, can be quite useful. And they're just going to have a little drinky before they head back for another dig around. Alright, moving on, back at the night time now. We've got a cow at 178 meters here. And for the harvesters out here we have a kangaroo at 80 meters. Another two roos here at 100 meters, giving you a good indication of the visuals you're going to get. And we go out to 155 meters now. And here's an example of how things can be very clear on a thermal, but then when you pick up your night vision, it's got a lot of grass in front of it, and locating it can be quite difficult. And here we have some at 64 meters, some roos there, and a fox here at about 40-50 meters. I hope that image comparison gives you everything that you need. I know it's a bit long-winded, and we've still got a lot more to cover in this review, but that's the image comparison done. Alright, so let's do the comparison at 100 meters between 940 and 850 NM. So at the moment we've got it on 940. And then we're going to change over to 850. Now as you can see, 850 is brighter and clearer, but 940 is good enough, especially out to that 100 meter mark. It looks quite nice. But 940 is good to be able to switch on if you're dealing with animals that are easily spooked or you're really close to the animal. Okay, like longer distances isn't such an issue, but when you're riding close it can be an issue. So this is 940 at 50 meters. Looks pretty good. 850. Alright, so moving out to 150 now, we're going to compare the 850 NM versus the 940 at 150 meters. Right, so this is 850. Looks really good at 850, that's for sure. The Z Vision light here. Now changing it over to 940. You can definitely tell the difference, but it is still usable. You could make use of this if you had to at that distance on flighty animals, but I probably wouldn't push it out much further than 150. Alright, so I just wanted to touch on the Z Vision torch and how it operates. I found with the Z Vision that it has a brighter, wider beam and a brighter long distance beam when you focus it in. As you can see here, the brightness that we've got here with the amount of coverage we've got is much higher than the Hikmicro one. So the Hikmicro one does a good job, but the beam is just not as wide, and we can focus this right in. And as you can see, we're getting some overexposure there. And what we do about that is we can turn on the Smart IR in the menu system, and that will adjust the image quality and get rid of any exposure when you're looking at things closer and things further away. But as you can see, this thing can see a long bloody way. So we've got 625 meter ping on that tree right down the back there. We've got a 400 meter ping on that tree there. And we go out to this one over here, 630. So this, it definitely punches out a lot further and has a wider beam. Is it necessary for most people? Probably not, but it is a very good light for punching out longer distance. Alright, so now this is the same image with Smart IR turned on, and as you can see, it's really fixed up that exposure, but you also can't see as far out the back. But as I lift it up, see how it adjusts the brightness to actually increase it for what I'm looking at in the distance. And then when I look down closer, it adjusts it so it's not overexposing it. It's definitely, you want to have this turned on. So yes, you can adjust it in a wide beam, or you can zoom in and have your narrow beam. Alright, another cool thing about the Z Vision is, see how it goes to this square? Now, if you keep zooming in, it'll actually smooth it out. So you go to the square, then you keep turning it, and it'll go to your circle there now. That's probably the ideal position for it. It's not lighting up the whole screen, but it'll be suitable for when you zoom in and zoom out. This would be the position at which I would use the Z Vision. You can back it off just a little bit, get it in nice and tight, or you can have it really wide. If you would like to support us, please consider making your next purchase with us. If you're in the market for any thermal or night vision products, we have a massive range over on our website. You can order online or give us a call for best pricing and advice. We pride ourselves in ensuring you make the right decision on your next purchase and get the device that's going to meet your expectations and budget without leaving you disappointed. We also price match, so pick up the phone and give us a buzz. Alright, let's take a look at the Hikmicro Alpex 4K. This is the one with the LRF. Let's quickly take a look at what you get with the unit. So you don't really get much with it. So you get this nice carry bag. You get a 18650 charger for the extra battery that it can take. We have power cables as well as documentation and various other things. So we won't go too much into that. Let's take a look at the scope. It's a very nice scope. It's got the LRF on the front here. You've got your focus ring at the front as well, and a really solid lens cap. On the other side here, we have an adjustment for your aperture. This will allow you to let more light in or restrict light access. Now the unit doesn't come with rings, but we can definitely supply you rings and bases as well to suit whatever you need. Now on the new Alpex, the menu button and scroll wheel is now on top, and your access to your battery is on the side. Now you can put an 18650, which is good. It's going to give you extra hours, which is fantastic. Now the other side here can't be removed. It's just where the 18650 battery will back into. Now this scroll wheel on top, now when you scroll it, it'll allow you to zoom in and out. So to access the main menu, you press and hold down your wheel button. It'll bring up the main menu, and then you can use your scroll wheel to navigate through the menu, and a single press to access the next menu. If you need to back out of a menu, press and hold to back out. Moving on down, we have some more buttons here. We have our power button. Single press will put it in standby mode. Long press will turn it on and off. And then we have our capture button. Now a single press on this will take a photo, and a long press will record. Now here we have our rangefinder button. This will activate your rangefinder, so a single press will activate your rangefinder, and a long press will bring up picture-in-picture mode. And then moving on, we have our adjustment for our eyes and a nice suction cap. One thing I do like about these ones is they don't fall off easily. Now as you can see, the rangefinder is on top. When we put our IR light, it will have to go on either this side or that side. We're not going to be able to get it over the top of that without adding extreme height to our IR light. Now on the side here, we do have our USB port. Now this is for charging and for data access. Now there was a waterproof rubber that inserts in there, and it was in there quite sturdily, but I've been a little bit rough on this unit, to be honest, and I accidentally yanked it out. If you press your rangefinder and capture button at the same time and hold it in, it'll actually lock the controls of the device, so you don't accidentally bump things when you're carrying it around on your back and stuff like that. It'll actually stop your wheel from working, so you won't be able to change anything. And then to turn it off, same thing, press and hold those two buttons. All right, let's take a look at some of the IR light options, okay, that we have. Now at the moment we have the Z Vision ones and the Hikmicro ones. Now there's a few different ways to mount it. This is the cheap way to do it. It just comes with a clamping style system that you can clamp on and off, and it does allow for a little bit of movement and adjustment in your beam. Little button at the back here to turn it on. Now there are other options to attach your IR light quicker on and off. Alright, let's take a look at the Z Vision mounting system for your IR light. Now this will work with the Z Vision lights as well as most aftermarket lights. as long as it's got about an inch or a bit under an inch tube. Alright, so what I like about these mounts is it's much quicker to get on and off, and it will go back to the same location each time you put it on. So once you get it set up, it's going to go back on the same way you took it off. So you mount your light to the quick release part here, and then you can make adjustments left and right by turning this knob here, and then with this big wheel here at the bottom, you can move it up and down. And it's very accurate. I've had a lot of success using these, really enjoy it. So let's see how it mounts up. Alright, so the other part of this puzzle is this ring that will go on to your actual scope. Now I've had to put it on the side here because the rangefinder is in the way. So you unlatch it, put it on. I put this one forward so that the latch doesn't interfere or touch the scope, and it's that easy. So it just clips straight on onto the side like that, and to get it off you just simply unclip that and away you go. So on we go. Now I put it far forward and then we clip it down and away we go. She's on there nice now, and that will work for the Hikmicro IR as well as the Z Vision and many others. Now you can adjust how far forward and how far back you want your light. But anyway, that's the Z Vision brackets. Alright, quickly going to take a look at the operation of the Z Vision light. So you can see here we have adjustment in our lens here. Now we can zoom it in and out. It'll go to a square, and then if you keep going it'll go to a nice circle. On the side here we have our change between 850 and 940 and our red light. You can get different configurations of this light that have a white light as well and things like that. So you've got a few different options there. So if you don't need 940, you might choose to get red, white and 850 in them. They take an 18650 battery, which is good, and they last quite a long time. Now taking a look at the Hikmicro IR here, it's a simple little turn here to increase the brightness of the light, turn it off, turn it on and increase the brightness, and then we have adjustment in the lens here at the front to make it wider or spot. Okay, pretty simple, straightforward, 18650 again, and works with the Z Vision mounts. Let me briefly discuss for those that are trying to decide whether they want to go night vision or thermal. So what's the pros and cons? I'd have to say that this night vision scope is exceptional. Probably one of the best ones on the market right this moment at the time of filming. With the integrated rangefinder and everything in there, it's a bloody good unit. I've always been of the opinion if you can't afford a good thermal scope and you're going for headshots and longer distances, I would recommend getting a high-end thermal, something up around that $5,000 to $8,000 mark, versus getting a $2,000 to $3,000 thermal. For most people, getting a night vision scope is probably a better decision if you can't afford a top of the range scope if you're going for those headshots. But you can get yourself a good package with a night vision scope and a thermal monocular, and you can go out and get into it without spending $7,000 or $8,000. You can spend $2,000 and you're bloody ready to rock and roll. And of course you can use it during the day. But let's talk about the cons of going with a night vision scope over a thermal. So what are the cons? Identifying the animal quickly after you've spotted it with your monocular takes a little bit longer with a night vision scope. Because thermal draws the heat out and it shows them glowing and really makes them stand out from the background, it's really quick and easy with a thermal scope to quickly line up where that animal is and get on track. Whereas with a night vision scope, you can actually spend a lot of time trying to find the animal in your vision. As you can see with night vision, it doesn't outline the animal, it's just a black and white image style, and you've got to actually find the animal amongst all the terrain and shrub on your own. Another con is having to have a IR light to go with it. So it adds extra weight and extra bulkiness to your scope where you don't need that with a thermal. So that's pretty much it really. For most people that are on a budget, they can't afford to go the top of the range, not thermal. This is definitely a good option combined with a thermal monocular. So what do I think of this one so far? We've had it out. I've given it a bloody good flogging, and it's been accurate. It was easy to sight in. Sighted in at 40 meters, 100 meters, and the way we went. It's been a really good unit so far. The rangefinder is quite helpful. Overall, I think it's a good all-round unit with the 4K sensor. The image quality during the day and the night is bloody amazing. Things change really quickly in the thermal and night vision game, so there could be something new out or there could be some new information. So if you're looking to purchase something like this, give us a ring so I can give you the most up-to-date information. Alright, so we're going to go through the menu functions here. To get into the menu, we press and hold the menu button. And at the top here we have our brightness adjustments, our contrast, our day or night mode. So if we single press on the scroll wheel button, it'll come into this menu and we can go day, night or auto. For most of the time, auto does just fine. We're going to leave it on day for the moment. Then we have albums. Now in albums, it just lets you review the recordings that you've made. And then we go into advanced settings. In here we have our zeroing profiles. If we go into that, we can have up to 5 profiles from A through to E. And then we have our zeroing functions. I'll go through this properly when I do the zeroing guide, but that's where you do the zeroing. And then we have our ballistics calculator. Now this will allow you to create ballistic profiles and input your ballistic information. So it'll do a calculation on where it thinks the shot will land based on how far away from the target you are. So you put your rangefinder on, get a range of the animal, and it'll automatically put a mark where it thinks the bullet is going to land. So there'll be a whole nother video on doing the ballistic calculations. Okay, so set reticle mode allows you to choose between central reticle and fixed reticle. So central reticle will make sure the reticle is always in the center as you zoom in, and fixed reticle will show the true location of your reticle, which may result in it being off-centered depending on your zeroing. Hopefully I didn't get those two mixed up, but that's basically my understanding of it. Once again, to go inside a menu, just single press on the scroll wheel button. Now, further down we have our zoom mode. You can have it as continuous or multiple. I like multiple, so it'll just double each time you zoom, where you can do continuous where it'll slowly zoom in and out. So let's take a look at the continuous zoom. So this is continuous zoom. See how it's slowly zooming in. I'm not a big fan of continuous. I think it's too slow. Because if an animal's on the move, you want to be able to quickly zoom out and zoom in based on your identification of the animal. Then we have our rangefinder mode. Okay, in here you can choose from many different options. Now I would recommend probably leaving it on once, especially if you're going to be doing ballistic calculations with it, because you want it to lock onto the target and not move when you move the laser range finding reticle off the animal. You don't want your calculations to change. So once would be appropriate if you're doing ballistic calculations. Continuous would be fine if you're not doing that. But keep in mind, the night vision can actually see the LRF laser. It can become annoying when you're trying to make a shot and you can see the laser taking up space on your screen. It could actually obstruct your vision of the animal. So it's probably a good idea to just put it on once. All right, going down we have our hotspot. Okay, so this is for our Wi-Fi. Now close is off, hotspot is on, so that allows you to connect it to the app, and that'll allow you to see what the optic sees on the actual screen. Pre-record will take a recording after you take a shot, so it has a storage where it's always recording, and when it detects recoil, it'll actually save that recording for you. Now we have the microphone for the scope turned on, so that'll do, when you do recordings, it'll actually record sound as well. Alright, so here we have Smart IR. This will just automatically adjust your exposure as per what you're looking at to clear the image up based on the brightness of your IR light. Now we have our auto screen on and off, so when it's facing vertical it'll turn off, and when you're horizontal the screen will turn on. I suggest having this off because it seems to turn off when I don't want it to, and that's annoying. Now moving down to the next thing, we have our function settings, and in here there's not much. So this is just the settings for your OSD, so what shows on the screen. Here we have pitch scale. You can enable pitch scale to view the device inclination angle in the live view. So basically gives you degree based information on the angle of your scope. Brand logo, will just put the Hikmicro logo on your recordings. Alright, then we go down again and we will have general settings. So in general settings we have our language settings, date and time, and our units, so you can turn this yards to meters. Alright, so auto power off will turn the scope off after a period of time. So if it's been on for more than 30 minutes or more than 45 minutes, it'll turn itself off, conserving power. This is handy if you accidentally leave it on. Nothing worse than accidentally turning it on in the bag or something like that and you get out and it's flat. And restore will just restore the device to default, so all the settings will go back to default, and you should also do a restore after you do a firmware update, so keep that in mind. And then we just have our storage, so we can format it, which will actually completely wipe everything on the scope, so all your recordings will be gone. And then lastly we have our version information, so that'll show the serial number, the firmware version, and so on. So this is what we're currently running on this unit. Alright, so that does it for the menu options and how that all works. Later on we'll take a look at zeroing it in and the ballistics calculator. Alright, so I'm going to quickly give you a demonstration on how to zero the Alpex. Now, because I've got to film this by putting the camera up to the optic, it's an absolute pain in the butt. So all I've done is placed an artificial mark where the shot landed so that we can do this demonstration. So when zeroing, it's good to have a big target to shoot at, like a big piece of cardboard with your target on it, and you want to shoot in at about 30 to 50 meters for your first shot to sight it in roughly, and then you can move out to further distances if you like. So we've taken our shot here, we're aiming at the center dot and it's landed up there. So now we've got to zero it into that. So let's go into the menus now. Now just remember that you do have 5 zeroing profiles, and then you have an additional sub profiles for your different firearms or different ammunition. Okay, so once we're in zeroing, now remember it's single press to access a menu. Let's take a look at the zeroing functions here. So at the top here we have our sub profiles that we can change between, and then we go down and we have our distance. So that's the distance at which we sighted in this profile. Then further down we have our type of reticle for this profile, so you can change it to many different types. And then further down we have the color of our reticle. Now I'm using this reticle because it stands out the most on this recording. And then from there we can go down to our zoom function. So down here we can zoom it in to where we want to be able to make our freeze frame. So 14 is probably plenty. Then what we do is we single press to get out of the zoom function, and then we go down to the freeze frame. We hold the crosshair where we were aiming as close as we can. Now it's frozen, you can move your scope around as much as you want, and we can even do additional zooming. So we can go to 28 times now, and then we can go down to axis to do our zeroing adjustments. Now from here we've got our x-axis. Now we scroll our scroll wheel, get it out roughly out line with our impact shot. Then we go down, we've got our y-axis here, and we can go all the way up center of our impact shot. And then we can hold the scroll wheel button in to go back, and then hold it again, and it'll come up with save parameters, and we want to select OK. And now our profile has been zeroed in for the center of this target here. And it's that easy. You can do multiple profiles and switch between them. You can do it for different firearms, for different ammunition types if you like. But now let's take a look at the ballistic calculations. All right, let's take a look at the ballistic calculations now so we can get an idea on how that works. Let's go into our advanced settings. So now let's go down to ballistic calculations. Now this will allow a calculation for bullet drop based on the ballistic information of your ammunition. Now you can get this information from your manufacturer. Sometimes it's on the box. From what I've seen, this is quite accurate and works quite well. I've had to play with it a little bit and it seems to work pretty good. I've seen some other people play with it online and also had pretty good results. The key is, but you need to get your information correct and you may need to make adjustments. Now, as you can see, I've entered my ballistic information. The initial velocity is 980 meters a second. I've zeroed it in at 100 meters on the current profile that I have. And then I've set my altitude, 301 meters, temperature, and ballistic coefficient, as well as sight height. Now this is just for demonstration purposes only. When you go into one of these options to make changes, a single press on the scroll wheel and it'll allow you to then see these numbers here, and you can scroll the wheel to make adjustments. And then a single press to continue on to the next digit, single press again, and so on. And then press and hold to save that. Now that I've set up all that information accurately, I can now go out and we can experiment with the ballistic calculations. All right, so just going to give you an example now what it looks like when it does a ballistics calculation. You can see that little X there showing you the bullet drop that it is calculating. Now, if I do a single range find out of that distance, so 522, you can see that that's where it's going to drop. If I zoom in, you can see it gets more and more exaggerated the more I zoom in. Now, if we come a bit closer, look down a little bit, like at 194 meters, it's barely dropping. But if we zoom in, you can see that drop is actually more prominent. It moves down more and more as you zoom in. So it's saying that the drop is about 7.2 centimeters. You can see there, 38 centimeters drop at 300 odd meters. I must make it clear, I am not a ballistics expert by any means, and I don't play with ballistic calculators in any sort of extreme long range shooting, so I'm not the best person to talk to about this stuff. So you'll probably find better, more in-depth information on the net somewhere and other people that can help you more closely. But from a recreational hunter's perspective and from your average shooter's perspective, I think it's going to be helpful, even if it's not 100% refined and not 100% accurate based on your ballistics data. Even if you don't go into the extreme refinement of it, I think it's still going to be helpful to give you an indication of what sort of bullet drop to expect. But for most people, we're not going to shoot much further than 200. And as you can see, the bullet drop at 200 isn't massive, but it's significant enough. We hope this video helped you decide whether the Alpex was right for you. We hope you'll consider making your next purchase with us. We like to offer the best service and advice and best pricing, so give us a call or jump on our website. We can't wait to hear from you.